Welcome to No Nonsense Psychiatry, the podcast that cuts through the noise and the confusion surrounding mental health. My name is Mark and I'm your host, and my goal is to give you the clear, practical information you need to understand your own well-being. No jargon, no fluff, just honest, helpful tools to help you on your journey. Let's dive in.
No nonsense.
Welcome back to No Nonsense Psychiatry. This is episode 96 and we're talking about intentionally smiling. Today we're talking about, we're taking a look at the most powerful yet easiest mental health tool you already possess, and that's your smile. We're not talking about genuine laughter, we're talking about the conscious, intentional smile, the one you choose to put on your face. For centuries, smiling in public was considered vulgar, associated with folly or poor manners. We'll trace its strange history from the stiff, symbolic, archaic smile in the ancient Greek statues through to the period of poor hygiene and dignified portraiture that keep teeth hidden, right up to the 20th century rise of the wide American smile driven by Kodak and advertising. But the real power lies in the psychology, and we'll explore the science behind the facial feedback hypothesis, how an intentional smile can actually trick your brain into releasing feelings of good neurochemicals like dopamine and endorphins, instantly reducing stress and boosting your mood. If you want to feel more resilient and appear more confident and improve your social interactions, this episode is your guide. So we'll give you 3 practical strategies like smiling trigger method to help you incorporate this powerful tool into your daily life. So let's start smiling more, starting now. So the history of intentionally smiling, that is the conscious use of a smile as a deliberate tool for social interaction, emotional regulation or performance, is intertwined with the history of culture, art and psychology. While the reflex of smiling is ancient and biological, the intentional use of smile has evolved significantly. In ancient history, the purposeful absence for much of ancient and early history, particularly in portraiture and public depiction, a neutral or serious expression was the norm. So intentionally smiling in art was rare and often held a specific no social meaning. Ancient Greek and Roman sculpture, most sculptures featured serious, reserved and thoughtful expressions, thus reflected the cultural values of dignity, status and sobriety. A wide, visible smile was often associated with lower classes, drunkenness or folly. Early Asian art, in many early Chinese and Japanese statues and paintings, a subtle, closed-lipped expression was preferred, conveying serenity, wisdom and inner peace, such as the Mona Lisa famous subtle smile. The dawn of the intentional smile, the archaic smile in the 6th century BCE, is one of the first intentional widespread uses of smile in Western art, and it is the archaic smile in Greek sculpture. The look is a slight, often unnatural looking upturned lip seen by the Greek kouros, male, or kouri, female statues.
If you're enjoying the podcast so far and appreciate our straight talking approach to mental wellness, please take a moment to hit the subscribe or follow button on your app right now. It takes 2 seconds and it makes a massive difference. It improves the content. The more the show grows, the better the resource and the production we can bring to you each week. It helps others, and a large subscriber base pushes these practical insights out to people who need them the most. And remember, this isn't just a monologue. We want this show to be a collaborative hub. And if you're a clinician with boots on the ground experience or someone with a powerful story of resilience, I want you to be on the podcast. Let's have a real conversation and cut through the noise together. If that's you, check out our guest link in the show notes. For now, let's jump back in today's episode.
The why, and this was likely not an expression of joy, but rather convention. An artistic tool meant to signal that the person depicted was alive, healthy and well disposed, a sign of grace or contentment rather than just a corpse. It was a formal, symbolic smile, not a social or emotional one. around the 17th to 19th century, status, hygiene and photography. So the intentional social smile remained quite rare in portraiture during the early modern era, and it's driven by social status and poor dental health really. So social status, showing teeth was considered impolite or vulgar in European high society. Wealthy individuals wanted to be portrayed as serious, wise and successful, and qualities that were different to that broad grin. Yeah. Dental health, so poor nutrition and dentistry meant that many people had decayed or missing teeth, which they preferred to hide, and this intentional toothy smile was definitely avoided. Early photography in the mid-19th century, methods required subjects to hold still for a long time, sometimes for over a minute. So holding a genuine smile for that long is difficult, right? And often results in a strained or awkward grimace. Therefore, photographers instructed people to remain neutral, dignified expression, reinforcing that traditional or serious pose. The 20th century, the rise of the social smile, the widespread adoption of the intentional teeth-showing smile is relatively a modern phenomena, believe it or not, and strongly influenced by American culture and commercialism and media. So you got the Kodak Brownie in the 1900s. The invention of easy handheld fast snapshot cameras drastically reduced that exposure time, and this allowed people to capture fleeting, genuine moments of joy, making the candid, laughing smile more common in personal photographs. And this followed in the 1920s and the 50s in advertising and public relations. So a consumer culture grew, that intentional smile became a commercial tool, and advertisers used smiling models to convey trust, happiness and friendliness, convincing the consumers that their products brought joy. Psychology and the fake it till you make it idea, the intentional smile gained psychological significance, and the idea that smiling, even when not genuinely happy, can improve your mood, that facial feedback hypothesis, encouraged people to use a smile as a deliberate tool for optimizing social warmth, especially in professional roles. And then the American smile. By the mid-20th century, the wide, intentional, teeth-baring smile became an expectation in many Western social and professional settings, particularly in the United States, and that signified approachability, openness, and confidence. So, as a summary, the history of the intentional smile moved from being a symbolic convention in ancient art to a to being socially forbidden as a sign of vulgar and poor hygiene, to finally becoming the standardized expression of friendliness, optimism and commercial trust in the modern era. And thanks largely to the faster photography and mass advertising. Smiling has several positive effects on your mental health, similar to laughing, regardless of whether the smile is a genuine, spontaneous or intentional forced smile. These benefits are largely driven by the facial feedback hypothesis, that release of good neurochemicals. The key mental health benefits of smiling is stress reduction and resilience. So smiling, even when you don't feel happy, can trick your brain into reducing stress. It will lower your heart rate. So studies have shown that people who smile or even hold a chopstick between their teeth to simulate a smile while performing stressful tasks have a lower heart rate and recover from the stressor more quickly than those who with a neutral expression. Reduced cortisol. So the act of smiling in association with decreased production of cortisol and adrenaline, the body's primary stress hormones, this helps the body enter a state of calm. Improved mood and physical feedback. Smiling triggers a positive emotional loop in the brain. Neurotransmitter release. When you smile, your facial muscles contract and they send a signal to your brain. In response, the brain releases the molecules that facilitate communication between the neurons and mood-boosting neurotransmitters like dopamine, endorphins and serotonin. And these chemicals elevate your mood, acts of natural pain relief and induce a feelings of well-being. So that fake it until you make it, the concept is supported by facial feedback hypothesis, which suggests that your facial expressions don't just reflect your emotions, they also influence your emotions. And an intentional smile can gain you a better feeling by sending a positive feedback signals back to your brain. Increased social connection and trust. Smiling serves as a non-verbal communication tool that directly impacts on your social mental health. Approachability. A smile signals friendliness, trustworthiness and openness, and this makes people more likely to engage with you, reducing feelings of isolation and increasing positive social interaction. It's contagious, right? There is a contagion. Smiles are contagious. When you smile at somebody, they often compelled to smile back due to the mirror neurons, creating a mutually reinforcing positive emotional exchange that benefits both parties, and their mental states. So perceived competence and confidence. Smiling changes on how people perceive you, which in turn reinforces a positive self-perception and confidence. So that positive perception is people who smile are generally perceived as being more confident, successful and competent than those who don't. Self-reinforcement, when others react positively to your smile, the positive feedback reinforces your own self-worth, your self-confidence and further supporting that overall feeling of mental health. Intentionally smiling can signify a boost to your mood and social interactions, and here are 3 practical strategies to help you consciously incorporate more smiles into your daily life. The smiling trigger method, and this strategy links the act of smiling to a pre-existing unavoidable daily event, turning a simple habit into a cure. So choose 3 non-emotional repetitive daily actions as your triggers, i.e. stopping at a red light, opening a new email, standing up on your chair. And the action, the moment you complete the trigger, consciously curve your lips into a smile and hold it to 5 to 10 seconds. The mental benefit of this is that it builds that neurological connection where the brain starts associating the physical act of smiling with routine, making it more automatic over time. When you smile, even intentionally, it can trigger that release of mood-boosting neurotransmitters like endorphins and dopamine, the facial feedback hypothesis. The strategy, auditory awareness focus, and this strategy uses social interactions as a cue to force you to match your physical expression to your social intent. So the practice is to commit to smiling every time you say or hear a greeting or a farewell. The action, whenever you say hello, good morning, consciously initiate a smile first before the sound leaves your mouth. Do the same when you say thank you or goodbye, have a nice day. The social benefit is that the smile signals an approachable and warmth, and since the interactions are frequent and brief, they provide repeated, low-stakes practice, making your greetings feel more genuine and friendly to others, which in turn often results in a positive reciprocal smile. And then finally, the visual cue environment. And this strategy is external visual prompts to remind you to shift your expression when you are alone or focused. And the practice is to place a small, easily visible reminder in the places you spend most of your time, especially when you're feeling stressed or like your workplace. And put a small sticker note on your monitor simply says smile or says the word smile. Set a silent hourly reminder on your phone to prompt a 30-second smile break. When you see the cue, pause a moment, take a breath and consciously move your facial muscles into a wide intentional smile. Not a wild one, you look a bit weird. And self-reflection benefits. So this breaks up a period of deep concentration, which often results in a furrowed brow or serious face or resting bitch face like I've got. And this helps reset your emotional state throughout the day, combating that sort of build-up of stress. Okay, so that wraps up our exploration of the intentional smile and its unexpected power. And you've been listening to No Nonsense Psychiatry, episode 96, Intentionally Smiling. And we've seen that the intentional smile is far more than a polite gesture. It's a modern tool with ancient roots, which involves from a sign of dignity and sobriety in Greek statues and Renaissance portraits to a standardized expression of trust and optimism today. Most importantly, we've covered the science that proves the power of intentional smile and that facial feedback hypothesis. And by simply contracting your face muscles into a smile, you send signals to your brain that release dopamine and endorphins, naturally reducing your stress hormones like cortisol and boosting your mood. To help you practice this powerful skill, remember the 3 strategies, using the smiling trigger, the method by linking a smile a day to unavoidable actions. Practice auditory awareness by smiling every time you say a greeting or a farewell. Utilize a visual cue environment by placing a simple reminder like a sticky note with a happy face to your workspace. The goal is to build resilience and improve your connection, and it starts with a simple, conscious choice. Thank you for joining us today. Until next time, turn that frown upside down.
Before we go, if you found the podcast helpful, please share it with someone who might benefit from it. You can also support the show by subscribing and leaving a review. It only takes a moment, but it makes a big difference in helping us reach more people. Thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next episode of No Nonsense Psychiatry.
No nonsense.